We'll take it.
This meeting is being recorded.
And then what I'll do is share my screen. So at your end, maybe, if you're on a laptop or maybe on a tablet, and if you have double signed on, you will primarily hear this bit of echo, which will be coming. And if you're not asking any questions, my suggestion would be just to mute your microphone and then unmute it as and when required when you want to ask a question. So this will make the recording obviously crisp and clear, and will reduce the voice echo, which typically comes when obviously we are talking.
I have no echo, however, I'm perfectly fine, but I'll switch it off just in case.
Yeah, just in case. So what I'll do is I'll send you the first confirmation email, which is the ATHE registration email, because there is a number that is available wherein we have registered you with the awarding body, and this number that you receive as an email would need to be quoted, at your end with regards to on the assignments or any official communication that is normally sent. Now,
I have the email with the registration number.
That's great. That's great. Now, for the purposes of looking at this particular session, I'm going to be looking at spending about 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to switch you between one or two screens just to discuss and show you a couple of things so that you're confident and absolutely comfortable with regards to starting and studying the course with us. Now, if I for a moment just stop the video and see if it makes a bit of difference. Now, what we are looking at covering today is a bit of a course overview. I'm going to try and give you some demonstration of Moodle, which is our learning platform, and show you the resources. So this will include, say, showing you the resources which are there. We are also going to be looking at the layout of resources that you will be able to access. I'm going to talk about a bit on assessment and feedback process, and then also looking at giving you some details about the team, which would be the people that you can contact in case if you need any help, or say, for example, you need a tutorial. So who is the right person to speak to? What emails do you need to send things on? They will be covered. And then what I will also do is briefly, look at taking some questions. If at all we've missed anything out and you feel that, those are bits that you need to know. And so the idea would be to try and give you that bit of information as well. Now, in terms of the course overview, I know that we've discussed you are registered with ATHE on the ATHE Level 7, if I put it this way, Extended Diploma in Health and Social Care Management. Although this terminology of Extended Diploma is not there, but I've mentioned it here just for the reasons of that you're going to be doing the full 120 credits, and that is the full diploma qualification. When it is awarded, you will primarily be awarded ATHE Level 7 Diploma in Healthcare Management. Those are the wordings which are going to be there for the, for the award, which the awarding body will essentially issue the diploma for. There is a change of terminology which is happening with ATHE for the qualifications which are undergoing refresh, and they are calling it, in the form that they call it the Extended Diploma, because Extended Diploma is 120 credits. Within that, there is a nested diploma or a qualification for 60 credits. Within the diploma, there is a certificate which you had initially inquired for, which is 30 credits. And then within the certificate also, there is an award, which is generally one unit, either 10 or I would say 15 credits, as a qualification. Sometimes when learners do CPD or when their employers are asking them to do a particular unit, in a qualification, not the full, then they come in and do an award. Sometimes if they have to do one or two modules, it will be a certificate. Sometimes it's a case of learners wanting to go to university and then doing a higher qualification. So in those cases, they will do a diploma. But in most cases, learners would end up doing a full diploma, which is extended diploma or a diploma 120 credits, because they are looking at this as a master's level qualification. Now, in order to look at a bit of a course overview, what I will do is I will take you to Moodle. And on Moodle, we will log in, to the learner management system. And in the learner management system, I'm going to show you where the learner handbook and most of the things are. Have you used Moodle before? Are you familiar with it?
No, I've used Canvas, which is similar, but no,
Yes.
Moodle, no. I was reading about the differences, to be honest, before I connected to you.
All right, okay. They're pretty much very similar. It's an interface which basically allows you to get access to teaching and learning material. So you put your username here in small case, put the password that you would have got as a temporary password from the system when your logins are created for the first time. This email can sometimes go into your junk and spam folder, and it displays as IT admin. But once you get that and you put that in, you'll be asked to create your own password, and that would generally be about 8 characters long. And it needs to be a combination of, uppercase, lowercase, some numbers and special characters. If ever you forget your password or username, all you have to do is click on this option of forget your username or password. Either put the username or the email address, which is unique in the system, and that will immediately send an email to your account to reset, give you a reset link for the password. So in this case, for example, if I send this over and I click continue, there's an email which immediately would come to my account, and that would allow me to reset my password at a click of a button.
So I should be getting a link to actually register with Moodle, or do I go on moodle.org and go there?
So in your case, what you would do is you would have had 1 or 2 emails that we would have sent across. This email would primarily give you your username. So let me just quickly check if they have not been sent across. I will.
No, I haven't. I checked my phone there as well. It's not there.
So let's get on with creating your email and details first, so that you are able to essentially log in. As I would mention, the email straight away comes in for password reset, should I need to do so. But let's create your account. So I will put the username is always in small cases or small letters, and then I put that.
Garcia with a Z. Garcia with a Z. G-A-R-Z-I-A.
G-E-R, J for golf.
No, G-A-R-Z. Yeah. The C has to change to a Z.
Okay, Z-I-A.
Exactly.
Okay. So we'll double check on our side whether the registration that we've got, Garcia is okay. So you should now have an email which should come into your inbox, and that should allow you to get username. And I'll send this across as well so that you have it.
All right, so I can now go in.
Log in, yeah.
So my username is my name.
Yeah, your first name.
Glenn only.
Only, yeah.
Here the password are.
So it will send you a temporary password. You can use that to. And once you've done, you will be asked to create your own password.
Exactly. Just a moment.
Right. Now I'll also enroll you into the course. So when you log in, you should be able to then see the course as well.
Okay, so I've changed the password. Save that. All right. Okay. Continue.
Okay, I will enroll you into the course as well in a second. And that should allow you to have full access to the course material.
All right.
So basically, when you log into Moodle, there are a couple of things that you can do. You can click on your name and go to your profile. And when you're in your profile, you can edit your profile. When you are here on this site, you can actually go in and obviously edit your profile. Maybe write a few things about yourself, and it'll show you a summary of what course you're doing and things like that. So the editing of profile can also be done, and this is something that you can do. Just look at customizing it to your preference. So under user details, you have an option called edit profile. You click on it. There are some fields you won't be able to change, like first name, last name, and email address, but you'll be able to change your username and a couple of other things. Maybe if you write a brief bit of description here, upload a picture by dragging into this box and then updating your profile, and that would then reflect on the system. Now, once you're in, you can go onto the home page by clicking on the logo. Obviously, because I'm enrolled in and I'm logged in as an administrator right now, I see a lot of courses. But in your case, you might just see the one tile, which is the course that you're enrolled in, or you might not even have a tile. So let me just go in and enroll you into the course first.
All right.
And that would basically then make available, the course to you in terms of, let's say, showing the course. 1 second. So now if you refresh your screen, you should be able to see the course.
Yes, all right.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple of sections on the course that we are looking at, which will primarily give you some idea about generic content. And there will be some bits that we will go through in which I'm just going to quickly try and point out that when you look at the course material and the home page of your course, what you're going to essentially see is a couple of things. Let me just move this. So basically what you're going to do is on your side, you're going to see a couple of things. So if I look at this particular area, which is the top area of the course, which is without going into any units, this is what is the generic section of the course, this bit.
Okay.
Without the units. Now here is where you will find some useful bits and pieces of information which talk about, things like the course handbook. It'll have, certain documents, instructional documents that we have provided as advisory, things like learner handbook, advice, Harvard referencing, command verbs, declaration of originality, what makes a good assignment. And there are some bits and pieces on quality policy, reference to our video of Harvard referencing on the website, and also how to draw up table of contents, some basic tutorials that we would want you to be aware of when you're studying the course. And then there is a bit here which basically talks about, where your submission of assignments are going to be. And these submission of assignments typically would be to an email address called learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk. After I finish the induction that we are going through will be available on this picture. It will be hyperlinked. So when you click on that, you should be able to watch the recording of the induction, and that would allow you to have it, for the duration of the course, should you wish to revisit. And it'll cover some of the things that we are talking about generically about the course overview, the Moodle, the platform, and some of the other bits that we'll cover, like assessment and feedback, team overview, and things like that. Now, the units in the course are organized as headings, just like a table of contents on the book. When you open the front page, the first few pages talk about the index or like a table of content. So here, all the units that you're going to be studying are basically organized here. And if I click on any of the headings, it'll open up the content of that particular unit. So it'll start off with all content across all the units are going to be in the same format. It'll start off with what is called a unit specification, just very briefly showing you the Moodle and the structure and the resources. The unit specification is generally something that the lecturers would use, and we would use it to basically teach and deliver the content, develop the presentations, and the discussions that are going to happen in and around the study of that unit. The second document is always going to be the assignment brief, and this assignment brief is going to be, is something you will attempt at the end of completion of this unit. Now, after that, you will find articles, handouts, ebooks, which are going to be useful from a point of view of your self-study. So there are some recommended books that are going to be made available so that when you're studying a particular unit, these books are going to be useful for you to, do some additional reading. In some cases, they would be used for when you're writing assignments. There will be reports, there will be articles, journals, and they will generally be bringing your understanding on that particular topic or of the indicative content which is given to be studied in the book, in the itself. Now, some of these books are traditional academic books. There are 600, 700, 800 pages long. So you might be studying only a few chapters which are directly related to the book unit itself from the book, but not necessarily the entire book. So there is going to be a generic section within the unit as well, which will cover resources and which will basically have, resources like books, articles, journals, certain handouts that we've created or we've over the years, gleaned from the internet, and they are going to be summarized documents which will give you very concise information about a particular topic or a particular, topic which is covered in the unit. Like, for example, National Health Service, NHS in the UK, there is so much to read about the NHS, but if you look at this particular document of 7 to 8 pages, like a summary document, which basically describes the formation of the NHS, why it was formed from, the structure it is prevalent in the NHS today to the services it provides. And that reading of 8 pages would give you a very good synopsis of what the National Health Service in the UK is. Now, at some stage, when you get down into after the books, articles, journals, there will be learning outcome-wise presentation. Now, this is quite important because what we do is we don't teach the whole unit in one go. As you can see in the unit specification, this unit has 4 learning outcomes. If you see 4 or 5 learning outcomes. So in each of the learning outcomes, we'll cover, each of the assessment criteria related to that. So there is not one presentation for the unit, but we have about, 5 presentations for covering 5 learning outcomes, and that's what covers the entire unit. So when you go through these presentations, they're quite worded, because I think over the years, what we've seen is a lot of learners will go through our presentations because these presentations are made from books, articles, and journals. They tend to provide detailed information. I would say when I say detailed, 90 to 95% of the information is contained in the slides with regards the topic that you are required to study in that particular unit. So these presentations tend to be quite worded, as I mentioned, but it's because if you go through these presentations, you'll be ending up covering most of the content in detail. And the organization of the presentations have been done in such a way that if we can't cover the entire content in one part, then there are some additional handouts that we've created, which are subsequently uploaded underneath the presentation, so that if this is bits and pieces we can't cover in the presentation, then they are meant for additional reading. So some parts of it would be in the presentation and the details of it would be provided in the handout, which are underneath those learning outcomes.
Okay.
And then towards the end, as we finish the unit, you are basically going to be then going into what is called the assignment brief. And the assignment brief will help you essentially then, cover the unit in terms of tasks and activities. And once they are submitted to us, we are going to look at and give you some feedback. If we feel that the work which has been submitted or the evidence created is fine, then they will then be, checked by the assessor, and obviously you're then accorded a pass mark, and that unit gets completed, verified by the internal verifier, and you are then, going to the next unit. Now, when you look at the units, the content, as I mentioned to you earlier, on the units is going to be the same. So when you get into the unit, the navigation moves at the bottom. The same structure follows through in all the units. And if you want to go back to the whole view, then you follow the breadcrumbs on the top here, and you click on one of the option, and it'll take you to the heading-wise structure. So each unit has books, presentations, articles, journals. There are recorded lectures which are available for some units, and for some units we keep refreshing them. So what will happen is there will be recorded lectures which will be visible that you are able to access. And if you will watch these recorded lectures, sometimes it's a case that you don't need to go through the presentation. So if I press on the recorded lecture, and if we do feel that the contents of the learning outcome are quite large enough and cannot be covered in one session, then we break them down into 2, and that would mean that you are able to watch 2 of these lectures to cover one learning outcome. But generally they tend to be one lecture. In some cases, if the lecture enough. We don't want to make it boring. So obviously they are about 30-35 minutes long, and after which you break it up and then do a second lecture. These then tend to cover, visually what has been discussed and what is being provided and discussed with the, with the student, and they are then explained using, the learning outcome, and visually showing sometimes how the things have to be covered.
Very good.
Now, this kind of a layout will follow through in all, and pretty much that is what Moodle will be, because it is what you see is what you get, is a kind of a system which is simple enough to follow. You can actually install this on your mobile phone. You can install it on your tablet. There is an app that you can download, and this app, when downloaded, basically allows you to set it up, and you can access the course material anywhere in the world as long as you have access to the internet.
Very good.
If you need to log in and download the app, there is a small video. If I just log out, that's the home page. It shows here how to set up Moodle on a tablet or phone, and it's a 30
It's already downloading on my phone. So.
Yeah, you can. And this is the free app, which is Moodle. It's a white colored tiled app. You can download this on Moodle, this on your phone, depending on if you're using Android or iPhone. And once you download this, there are 3 things which are required to set it up. One will be the URL, or the address where the system is installed. So that's the first thing it is going to ask you in terms of where the the Moodle installation is, and that is where the web address will come. So you have to type it out: https://lms, which is learnermanagementsystem.ukversity.co.uk. And when you connect, it will detect the installation and then ask you to put in or key in your username and password. Now, everything that you access on a PC, on a laptop, on a tablet, everything will be accessible. The only difference is going to be because the real estate on the phone is small. So everything that you get to see for the course that you're enrolled in will be slightly small in terms of visibility. But the advantage for this particular app is that because you have it installed, we have the ability to be able to push notifications to your phone. And that would be assignment submission guidelines or deadlines and things like that. But you can obviously control them, from the Moodle app itself, should you not want it. But generally, it will be a case of this being driven from your side rather than, from us. And it's a convenience tool. It's not necessary that you have it installed, but I think considering sometimes when we are traveling, when we are out and about, it allows you to access the course material, and that is where the installation of the app can be done. Now, 8 units, the mandatory units, are on the top, and then the optional ones that we generally see learners doing, although there are a number of different units that you can choose from. If I click open the handbook now, in this handbook, as you can see, if I just quickly scroll down to the diploma qualification.
If you don't mind me asking, what is the URL again? So lms.university.co.uk?
No, lms.ukversity.co.uk.
That's right. ukversity.co.uk. All right.
So that would be, so if you look at, this is the course handbook. Now, generally speaking, in the course handbook, there are 6 mandatory units, and then you have to do 2 optional units. So generally speaking, the learners' units that they pick up for level 7 generally tend to be project management. And in most cases, they end up picking either HR or managing quality and service delivery, because you want to be looking at doing more and more units which are related to healthcare management. But because at the master's level, it's all about implementation, you are not doing it, but it's all about managing and delegating. So most of the learners end up focusing on picking up units which will help them gain information or gain a skill primarily while working within their organization. Project management is a good unit to pick out. And the other one is human resources management, because somebody who's doing this qualification, I presume, will be in a management position Sometimes
Exactly.
people are, and they then tend to get an overarching knowledge in terms of how to manage people within the health and social care setting, and that is why these units are popular. But that does not mean that you need to take these units. We have obviously taught all the units over the years, and in some cases, learners pick up managing continuous change, or for example, they might also pick out other units like risk management. So if you take a good look at the course handbook, I'm going to try and open it offline so it looks a bit bigger, and that if you look at it and then let us know what units you are interested in covering in the optional, then what the IT can do is essentially configure that to show
Okay.
you're doing.
So at the moment, I have the options are project management, and as you said, and human resource management.
That is correct. These are the most popular ones. I think reason being that sometimes learners who are doing this qualification end up going to do, the MBA or MSc in healthcare management. And in some cases, if you're doing it through the UK universities, what ATHE
This is
and
what they do.
over the years, we have mapped those units so that, when you do tend to go for a top, you get as many exemptions as possible, and
Okay.
only allowing you to do a dissertation as against, maybe studying additional units.
Okay. No, I can. I mean, project management was one anyway I thought about when I saw them, and the other one I wasn't sure. So human resource management sounds just about right, basically.
That's great. So if you do change, then do let us know. And what I will do is we will make sure that that unit is reflected and it is, available for you to be able to study. Now,
All right.
I've just changed the course handbook to the latest version from the ATHE website, and that is version 4. And the reason I have done it is because in the previous qualifications, they had the award and the, the certificate qualifications. But now, more or less, the qualification that they have is predominantly just the certificate, as you can see, and the diploma. So diploma is 120 credits and certificate is 30. Although the units pretty much remain the same, but they have revised because of the fact that maybe some of the other awards or smaller qualifications are not getting traction, and that's why they've done away with it. So the mandatory units remain the same: OB, organizational behavior, managing finance, you have international healthcare policy, managing continuous organizational change, developing organizational vision, and one which is a research project unit. And then there are a couple of optionals. And it'll be safe for me to say that we have done managing quality and service delivery earlier. We've also taught leading organizational equality and diversity. We've also taught corporate communication strategy, though this is a unit which is more in strategic management than in healthcare management. We have taught risk management, which is available. And then human resource management has been slightly reworded to strategic, because HR is a subject, is taught from level 4 in the first year of degree. But at level 6 and 7, this unit has been renamed strategic resource management, or strategic resources management, which is going to not just concentrate on human resources, but administrative, financial, physical, and infrastructure.
But there's both, so you can choose any one of them, essentially.
Yeah, that is correct. But generally, people end up doing HRM and not the physical resources, because if you're not working within a big setup or engineering and other facilities, then the resource management unit here is more focused on physical and infrastructural resources, which might not be relevant to health and social care sector. All the units are, pass and fail. There is no grading in the units as of now in the qualification. So the highest you can achieve is a pass mark. And when you achieve a pass, it is 100%. There is no, it cannot be a case wherein you just do the learning outcome 1.1, 1.2 and say, okay, I'm not doing 1.3, 1.4. You have to attempt all of them to be able to pass and achieve a unit. Now, there are no exams in the unit.
What do you mean you have to attempt them all? There's no assessment per learning outcome, but no? It's just then the final assignment, no?
No, there is one final assignment which will be there. When I say final assignment, what I mean by that is there is one assignment which you are going to be asked to attempt, and that will cover the whole unit. Now, because you asked me that question, I will just slightly, rearrange and show you something so that you are able to follow. Now, what happens is if I look at this particular unit, which is managing finance in the public sector. And if I open the assignment up for this particular unit, the assignment tends to be, a combination of activities and tasks. But these activities and tasks are generally coming out of the learning outcomes and the assessment criteria. So you see the learning outcome here, which is going to be talking about the broader topic. And within the broader topic, you're going to be looking at specific areas to understand that broad topic. Now, when I talk about, a particular unit, so let's look at international healthcare policy. And I open the assignment brief for that unit. So if I look at the assignment brief for that unit side by side, minimize all the others just in case to avoid clutter. So here in this case, if I just magnify this slightly for you to be able to see clearly. So if you see, this is the, so there is a terminology that we follow. So when I look at this terminology, and if I just move it here, 1 second. So the terminology that we follow, this is called the US or unit specification. And this is called the AB or the assignment brief. Okay. Now, when I look at both the documents are the same. Obviously, unit specification here talks about the aims of the unit. It gives you the code, credit, the grading structure, and then what are the assessments? How is this unit at the end of the day? We are going to check the knowledge that you have gained from this unit. And then it has a grid. This is the grid which we talk about. The grid, when I say is a grid, which is this LO and AC grid. This grid is what is basically the crux of the unit that we are going to be ending up covering and discussing when you say you're learning about international healthcare policy. Now, I cannot go about and teach you just anything in the unit. So if I say it talks about healthcare promotion in international context, and it talks about approaches to healthcare promotion, what do I need to teach you? I will teach you what is given here in the indicative content. So the approaches tend to be the NHS will do promotions, the health service department will do promotion, and these promotions can be done locally and nationally with priorities in mind. That means when the pandemic, for example, COVID pandemic broke, there was a coordination of most governments and the health services or departments in the countries with the World Health Organization. And this is where they then came out with measures and processes to say, this is how we will go about tackling the pandemic. So when we talk about information being given or social distancing as a word being invented, or hand, space, face as a poster coming out to prevent the, let's say, the transmission of COVID, virus. These were things which were done on an international coordinated effort. And that is what we will need to cover in the approaches to deal with, for example, how does healthcare promotion happen or policy formation happen within an international context. So these are the bits which are going to be covered in each of the assessment criteria. Now, when you have covered the whole unit, you have gained the knowledge. The idea is to test your knowledge by asking you to do an assignment or a report. And that report is going to be based on certain tasks and activities. So what happens is, if you carefully look at both the sheets now, if you see the assessment criteria are converted into what are called tasks for you to do. So these would remain the same, but there will be a bit of context or a background which should be given. And with that context or background, you assume, and then you go about answering these tasks as a report or as a Word document assignment that you compile. So if you see here, it says the following assignment is based around students carrying out research on health provision in a country in which they're interested to provide a context for the health and social care, qualification. So first part first is you will need to select a country in which, in your case, you might select Malta. Most learners in the UK either select UK, they might look at Canada. Sometimes they look at other countries for their healthcare system, but you have to choose one context. So if you choose National Health Service or you choose your Ministry of Health and Social Care in Malta, that would then be used as a context throughout while doing the assignment for this unit.
So basically, to just understand it, basically it's the learning outcomes, the way that you are I will be assessed to see if I actually fulfill the learning outcomes is through the one assignment still.
Yes, absolutely correct. To the one assignment, but that one assignment is broken down into tasks.
Yes, of course.
These tasks will be hitting some of the assessment criteria. Now, when we teach you, we go in a chronological order, start with 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when the assignment is done, the awarding body will look at different criteria being clubbed together, because what they're going to do is they're going to try and make sure that the work that you need to compile or the evidence that you need to compile is basically related to what you're trying to cover, and there is avoidance of repetition while you do the assignment. So sometimes if you see here, criteria 2.1, 2.2, 3, and 4 are linked because they all talk about the impact of culture, attitude on health and social care. So this is linked. Similarly, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 is linked. And then again, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 is together as one task, but practical barriers to, or basically discussing about barriers to health and social care, a different task because it cannot be clubbed together with task 3.13, because there it talks about care policy, how it can be organized or implemented at the organization level, and what is the structure required to deliver this in a particular country. But the fourth part is totally different. It doesn't talk about policy or implementation or the structure. It talks about what could be the barriers which could prevent the implementation of this structure or the policy, and that has been set up as a separate task. So all I'm trying to say here, when I'm trying to show you both these, is that if you read the assessment criteria, they will be exactly the same wording here. The only difference would be that they would be moved around slightly to club them in a way which allows them to be covered from a point of view when you write the task, so that there is avoidance of repetition, and the work that you're producing is actually flowing in a manner wherein the context is related to each other in terms of the task that you're doing.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yes,
now,
thank you.
In some of the assignment briefs, this one say is very brief, but if I pick out another one, just as an example, the assignment briefs will also have what is called a context given, and that context is generally, defined for you to look at assuming as a background. So if you look at this particular assignment brief, they've given you a bit of an introduction here. Before you even start doing the assignment, what they're asking you to do is you've been asked to look at an organization wherein the organization is looking at creating, communicating, and implementing a vision for an organization, and that has to be agreed with the lecturer. So when you pick up a company, which you're going to talk about, wherein you're going to develop the vision, mission, and the objectives, you're going to discuss it by sending an email to us to say that this is the organization I've chosen, and I'm going to be using this throughout the assignment to be able to do the tasks. So
and this I email you, or is
with us as a center, with us. So it says, before starting the task in the assignment, you will need to get an agreement with your lecturer to the choice of the organization or division that you're talking about. The reason I say this here is, for example, this particular unit, sometimes you want to look at an organization which is going to be, let's say you pick up a generic organization like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, but it is hard to relate to Coca-Cola and Pepsi in the health and social care context. So the idea there is to discuss it and choose an organization or a charity or a health and social care organization, like, for example, Macmillan Charity, or, for example, the National Health Service, or you might pick out a pharmaceutical organization which has got something to do with the health and social care sector, and that would be more relevant to doing the assignment rather than picking up a marketing organization or a business organization which has got nothing to do with the health and social care sector. So there are some guidelines which are given in the assignment briefs, and they tend to be useful guidance for you as learners to make sure that, because you're not doing a generic qualification, you're doing something which is in the health and social care sector. And the idea in thereabouts would be to try and pick out something which relates to health and social care sector. And that is what you would need to do. In some assignment briefs, as you can see, there's a scenario given. You might not be asked to choose an organization, but there's a background given for you to assume. And with that assumption in mind, you will go about doing the tasks which are given. And each of these tasks will actually correspond to a assessment criteria of the unit specification.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Now, let's look at going across to, going back to Moodle again. So if I go back to Moodle again, what I want to do is, let's look at some of the bits which we feel are important from a point of view of, doing and studying the qualification. Now, there is a bit which I would refer to in terms of what could be the order in which you could study the unit. Now, again, this is advisory. When we look at the units which are there in health and social care, sometimes learners prefer to do the core units, and sometimes they prefer to get through the units which are purely theoretical and complete them quickly, and then spend time on the core units which are required to give you the knowledge for that particular qualification. Now, if I look at this particular course, which is healthcare management, if you see in general, there are lots of units which are sometimes, I would class it as generic units. So international healthcare policy is core unit for you for healthcare. Organization behavior is generic. Human resource management, generic. Managing finance in public sector, I would say to a certain extent important, because this allows you to understand how finances, tenders, bidding happen within the sector, because healthcare is mostly, let's say, funded by the government in most countries. Project management as a unit tends to be generic, but it is an important unit because most people have worked within small mini projects or projects within the organization. And this is where they feel they have the information. What they can do is go through this unit quite quickly. A simple project could be you're looking at moving an office, or you're relocating an office. Another project could be you're launching a product, or you're launching a promotion, and that's a time-bound thing for 2-3 months. So a lot of people have done this unit in one way or the other, and they feel they can cover this unit quite quickly. Then we have units which are going to be related to healthcare, because in healthcare, there are lots of changes which happen, lots of changes throughout the year, which keep happening, policy change, infrastructural change, regulatory change. And this is a unit which is, I would say, generic unit, but still in the context of health and social care, a relevant unit, because of the fact that sometimes when you work within the sector, you have to implement change, or you are the driver of change as a part of the management, or you're the person who's been asked to make the change, and that is why this unit is irrelevant. Developing organizational vision, probably a unit more for the management, but here you're setting the goals and objectives if you're a part of the management team. And again, a unit which is maybe can be said to be related to health and social care sector. And then research is something which you want to do or bring out as a study, but it is again a generic unit as far as this particular qualification is concerned. Because you at master's level, or at let's say if you're working in a senior position, like you're working as a practice manager, or you're working as, say, for example, somebody who's a consultant or a healthcare professional dealing and managing a team, you might not be required to do research. There will be people under you who will conduct some research on patient record or patient information and things like that. You are not going to be doing it directly. So again, I consider this unit in this particular qualification, a generic unit, because it's mandatory. That is why this is one unit I would suggest you start off, because you would want to do desk-based research. I don't know whether you do field-based research, primary research. It'll be more secondary. you shortlist a case study or a particular study or research project or a report which has been done in the past. And from there, you basically extract the bits which are required to be completing a research project. This particular unit takes about 6 to 8 weeks to complete, and generally is one of the first unit which I ask the learners to start, because after you do the reading of what is research, how to do the research, what is the rationale, how to set your aims and objectives, what would be the research methodology, and how do you go about conducting the literature review, which is looking at existing pieces of work which is available, and then how to extract the relevant information from there and then make it useful for your research that you're conducting. And once you've done this bit of theoretical study, you are basically going to do, actually starting the process of collecting data or, compiling data from internet and other sources. And this would take time. So that is why I would say taking 6 to 8 weeks, and this is a unit you could start off easily, as one of the first units, because you want to get it done and get it out of the way. Out of the 8 units you're going to study, there are going to be 3 units which are very directly related to health and social care sector: managing finance, international healthcare policy, and then managing continuous change. These units 100% within the health and social care sector. Some of the others need to have a bit of contextualization and variability in terms of how you apply it to your place of work or the organization that you work in. Now, because the whole course is open, we can give you an advisory in terms of which units to start, because they're going to be theoretical, and they would be some of these units you would be able to complete quite quickly, and then you can spend a bit more time on some of the core units like international healthcare policy, finance, because it's going to be important for you to get knowledge and information into this particular sector. Now, you might be aware of the Maltese, healthcare system, but that is where in international healthcare policy, we have provided a healthcare system examples of the Danish healthcare system, the Canadian healthcare system, and they would be, and the UK one in particular, which are going to be useful for you to develop knowledge into how healthcare system works within different countries. And it helps you to, draw knowledge, draw similarities, and also understand, what are the differences, key differences in the healthcare system across various countries. So this unit, I would suggest that you do it in a bit more detail, because this is the core unit of this particular, course. Now, in terms of resources, we have got plenty. So if you feel that something is not available or missing, all you have to do is at some stage send an email, because we've got lots of books, lots of articles, journals. We keep changing them, and we keep buying more and more depending on if there are new versions or new editions available. So from that aspect, what I would suggest is, if at any given point in time you feel that there is not enough data or source available, then what you can do is basically just shoot an email to this particular email address, which is going to be used quite often: learnerwork@UK-Versity. This email, if you send, you get an acknowledgement. It's a monitored mailbox. And obviously, you can write a question or a query to this email, and one of the tutors will get back to you pretty much in a couple of hours, providing some additional information. And should you feel you need any resources, you would be able to get hold of, because it will just take a couple of minutes for us to be able to provide them, and then upload them to Moodle for you, so that you are able to access them from within the unit.
Very good.
Now, when we look at the assessment and feedback process, again, when you have any queries related to the course, so queries related to the course, there are 2 lecturers which are going to be teaching, and obviously because at level 7 some of the units are generic, so there are different people who will be responsible for different units, and you'll be able to reach out to them primarily depending on what unit you are studying and what is the query all about. Now, if it's going to be, say, international healthcare policy, I will write the short form IHC unit, then probably In most cases, it will be either Gulshan or it will be, in some cases, me. If you're looking at finance, it will be Anjum. If you're looking at research, it will be Sanjay. If you're looking at, say, for example, managing continuous organizational change, it will be Anjum. And when you look at developing organizational vision, and that unit is going to be me. Apart from that, you look at units like SHRM, Strategic Human Resource Management, HRM, and you look at project management, those units, would be me. When you look at risk management, if at all you pick that unit up, it will be Sanjay. So depending on the expertise and the area in which we are able to teach and we have been teaching, you will probably have that tutor responding back to you should a query related to the course is sent across to learner work. So this particular mailbox is a shared mailbox, and depending on the query and the area in which you are sending it, the relevant tutor will pick it up and obviously get back to you with the additional information that you've asked. Now, if your query is general query is general and is related to, for example, I want to set up a tutorial on this unit, or for example, I haven't received feedback, on my assignment, or for example, you are wanting to find out, let's say, something like you wanted to know what is your registration number. Now, for this, you would be going across to one of my colleagues called Lewis, and Lewis is the course coordinator. So anything related in general overall to the course, minus the teaching part of it, he would be the one that you would be able to reach. And all emails in UK Versity are the first name. If you need to write to anybody, first name followed by UK Versity. Is that okay? So if you need to write to Lewis, it will be Lewis. If you want to write to for him regarding, I want to set up a tutorial on HRM, can a session be organized with the relevant tutor? I'm available on Thursday between 3 and 5. I'm available on Saturday between 9 and 1. And if you send that over to coordinator or Lewis in general, he would then basically fix up or schedule that session and then get a Zoom invite sent to you. And that session will happen on that day with the particular tutor. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if there are any resources that you need, or if there are any issues with IT, that means you are not able to access Moodle or the learner management system, Moodle being the generic name, because we use Moodle, it's an open source platform, and a learner management system being a bit of a polished name, but whichever way you call it, I call it the Moodle. Some of my students call it Noodle, doesn't matter. But if you need any resources, if you have any issues on that, you've lost your password, you're not able to log in, then you need to get in touch with my colleague Victor, and Victor can be reached on Victor. And if it is a specific query related to, issues on IT or anything that you're not able to access, then you can drop him an email on it-admin@UKversity, and he would come back to you pretty much either on the phone or on email, solve your problem pretty much straight away. Okay. Now,
All right.
if it is related to anything in administration, although this might not be required, but in administration, there are a couple of people. And obviously, when you look at your certification, your registration, there are a couple of people there who are responsible for it. So when you complete your course, your certification process is going to be dealt by Amrita, and she would basically get your certification done with the ATHE. If there are other things like when we are sending something over to you in the post, when your diploma is sent, we ask you to complete some surveys towards the end of the course or at the end of the unit. They are going to come in from one of my colleagues in administration, and that would be Aman. There is also a colleague called Tanya. So basically, these two would be, reaching out to you for certain things which could be related to journal admin of the course. Say in your case, you're paid the whole fees, but sometimes learners in the UK actually pay 1 or 2 installments. So if installment is not paid, or it has to be reminded, administration generally would get in touch and get those bits and pieces.
Very good.
Is that okay? So
Yes.
we will get in touch with you through three types, three different modes. One is obviously WhatsApp, which is, for urgent announcement or urgent messages. It will be through the phone and it will be through the email. And we are pretty much available 24/7. So there are
Very
people, if you drop an email at 2 a.m. in the morning, there are people available which will be doing a night shift, or, because we have learners across the globe. So there will be some
okay.
response that you'll get in a couple of hours. It won't be a case wherein you've sent an email and then, you're getting a response 2 days down the line or 3 days down the line. It'll be a couple of hours in at the most. If you send something over and it's not being responded to, then obviously there's a problem, and then you need to pick up the phone, give her a WhatsApp message, and speak to Luis, saying that, Luis, I've not had a response on this. What's happening? And he will then chase it up with the relevant person. But generally, you would see that you'll probably get a response in about 2 to 3 hours at the max when you need something or when you send something in to us. Now, very briefly, if I look at the process of assessment and feedback, and I'll show you an assignment, how it is submitted, how we give feedback, and this is generally, I would say anywhere between 5 to 7 working days to maximum up to 2 weeks. There are some times of the year wherein we are extremely busy because we have lots of assessments happening, lots of certifications happening. But generally speaking, when you submit an assignment or when you submit a draft of your work and you feel that it is something final, this will come across on the same email address, learnerwork@ukversity, because you will get an acknowledgement. And that acknowledgement would say that you'll receive feedback in 5 to 7 working days on the work that you've submitted. Now, how do you receive feedback? Let me just quickly show you an example.
Just a quick thing. I got 2 emails now from Aman and Victor about an BAC interview, and they're all for now. I think it's just a generic email, right?
That's correct. So the BAC interview, just ignore, because that must have been sent out in error. There is another learner that we are doing an interview for. His first name is also Glenn, and that's where I think that goof up has happened, wherein the interview is actually scheduled with him and not with you.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that was one of the reasons that I had to send you a new code, to do this seminar, because one of my colleagues is doing the interview at 3 o'clock or 3:30 with him.
Exactly.
Okay, no worries. Now, let me show you an example of how the assessments are normally done on the assignment. And then, when you send something to us, how do we basically send it back to you? So I'm just going to try and randomly pick out one. Yeah.
I might need to switch you to Bluetooth because I need to start going to work basically. And
right.
So
we are going to be just 5 more minutes maximum.
All right. I can do 5 more.
So if I show you one particular unit, let's say just a simple or a generic unit, what I'm going to do is just open up one unit which is, say, strategic marketing. Now, when you send in your Word document to us, what will happen is on the Word document, we will give you some feedback, which is going to be annotated as comments on the right-hand side. Now, this will follow through throughout the document. Now, if we do feel that places where the work is scant or is not meeting the criteria, you're going to be getting direct feedback to say, please add this, please refer to this slide, or please refer to this particular, learning outcome and the indicative content, and include that in the task to be able to pass the task. Because it is not a university style system wherein I would say, no, you go back and research and resubmit. We are not going to give you generic feedback. We are going to be directive in terms of giving you feedback. Now, once the work is met and the criteria has been fulfilled, you will also receive what is called a sheet, which is a record sheet for you and your record keeping, which will say whether you pass the task or not. And that will clearly mention pass. And in some cases, if it's not been achieved, it will be saying not yet achieved. So this will be a sheet which will go back and forth. And because in your qualification, there is no grading, so you have to meet all the criteria which are normally in the assessment assignment brief which are given. And if any of the criteria is a refer, that means you will have to resubmit that task to be able to pass the whole unit. Not the whole unit has to be done again, just that particular criteria which has not been met.
Okay.
Okay, and the feedback will clearly say why this has not been met. And how would you see the feedback? That would be given up on the document here, wherein it would say that why you have not met this criteria and what needs to be done in terms of addition to be able to achieve that criteria. Now, once this is done, you get this sheet back, which is for your records to say this unit has been completed. Any changes that you make to the document are always going to be in this same document. This document that we see here is going to go back and forth till you achieve the unit. You're not going to start a new document again. And anything that you add, if I've given you a comment here, and if you've added this paragraph, what you're going to do is highlight it in yellow. So second time round, when you send the work, it is easier for us to quickly recognize that, okay, this was the comment given, this is what the addition has been done, and now does it meet the criteria? It does. Then obviously the commenting would change and you would receive a final grade. Now, in your case, again, mentioning just this is reference only. So in your case, it is a pass. And obviously, this would then become a unit which you achieved. Is that okay? Yes, so this process of feedback would happen as and when you submit the assignment, it is to learn a work, and then you get this feedback coming back from the tutor who's teaching that unit, who's a specialist in that unit, and the commenting is going to be directive to say why you have not achieved and how you need to go about achieving it. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Good stuff. So I have pretty much covered most of the things that I wanted to, which is giving you a bit of a demonstration of Moodle, discussing a bit of course overview, the units that you're going to cover, how the layout of the...
One last question, actually, I have.
And the team. Yes, go on.
So the document will be going back and forth through the email, like the learner work at UK Versity.
Correct.
But then when it's like final and done, do I submit? Do I have to submit it through the email that I got before, the ATHE official one?
No, you will basically just submit the work to us on Nanawork, and what will happen in the end of it is you will receive this sheet, which will only come back to you, and that would primarily say that you have achieved this particular unit.
All right.
Okay. It'll also be signed off so that we have this for record that this unit has now been achieved, and you can go on to doing the next unit.
All right. Very good.
One of the other things that you would do is basically, you would basically be sending us what is called the declaration of originality. And that declaration of originality would be, something to say that this is your own piece of work, and you have not colluded, and you understand what is referencing, and that would need to be signed on and sent along with the assignment, every assignment that you send. And this can be downloaded from here on Moodle, and this is how it looks like. So you fill up your name, your registration number, the course name, write the name of the unit, click all these boxes, and then sign towards the end. And that is something which is an accompanying document coming along with all the assignments.
All right.
Right.
Very good.
This bit is also now automated on our website. So what we don't want you to do is do repetitive work. And I think if you get an email from Victor at stage, that would be an electronic version of this particular bit. All you do is drop down and choose your course from here, and then click all the boxes. The units will change depending on the course you choose. And in your case, I think we'll get it added up. I don't know whether the level 7 diploma in healthcare management is added, but this is the link which we will send. You will sign it once, and it will cover the declaration for all the 8 units rather than having to do repetitive work.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Good stuff. Any questions at your end?
No, I think I should be okay. If I have, I'll send an email then.
That's brilliant. No problem. Thanks for attending this, Glenn. And what I will do is then...
For your help, actually.
Yeah. One last question I have from my end, which I want to you. There are some policies that we have, which I would ask you to go through. Things like plagiarism,
Yes, yes.
looking at safeguarding, malpractice, all those policies are available here. Now,
All right.
should we need to do some live sessions with you, which is tutorials,
Mhm.
live sessions or tutorials? What are the best 2 days and times that will work with you?
I work shifts, so it's not the same every week.
All right, okay, but just in case, do you have any particular days in mind that are a bit more favorable, or times which are a bit more favorable for doing
No, the
sessions?
morning would be better for certain things.
Mornings, okay, and days wise?
Let's say Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays and Wednesdays. And when you say mornings, between what time? Say 9 a.m. to
8, your 8 a.m.
okay, so
or high.
yeah, to
Your 9 a.m. to say 12 here. So those 3 hours till 12. It's good.
that's perfectly okay. That gives us a bit of an idea, because I think I'll pass this information on to Louis. So it's at times if we need to conduct any tutorial or get in touch with you, then these times is what we will note down, and we know it'll be ideal for you to be able to speak to us, or schedule any tutorials if required. But that's great. So that gives me some information, and obviously I'll pass it on with my colleagues so that we are having it at hand, and should we need them in the future, we'll then schedule those accordingly.
Thanks a lot.
Good stuff, Glenn. Thank you so much. And I will say this recording in the next couple of minutes as this is made available, and then we will be in touch over the next few days.
Very good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. No problem.
Bye.
Take care. Have a good weekend. Bye. Bye. Bye for now.